Hey everybody, and welcome back to the FlixList. Today we are talking about the best R-rated movies to ever be led by kids. Interesting topic, right? We'll see you after the break. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the FlixList, the weekly segment where I go down a countdown of the best movies of all time in a certain category. Today, in honor of Good Boys, I'm talking about the best R-rated movies to feature kids. Kind of makes sense, right? Yeah. So Good Boys is the new feature out this weekend about some kids getting into some super adult and very R-rated stuff. So I went back to think about the movies that have been rated R that center around kids or feature a kid. Get it? All right. Perfect. And I've got four for you here. Number 4, we're going to go Stand By Me. This is the first Stephen King movie on the list. A little spoiler for you. This is a classic in every sense of the word, but it's kind of ridiculous that this movie is rated R. If it came out now, it would 100% be PG-13. Might even have a chance to be PG, but given the circumstances and subject matter, it's probably still PG-13. This movie is now 33 years old. Kind of makes everyone feel old here, I'm sorry. And it's a wonderful exploration of childhood innocence, adventure, and coming of age with a slightly morbid backstory. This film has incredible childhood actors that are all iconic in their own way, ranging from River Phoenix to Will Wheaton to Corey Feldman and Jerry O'Connell. This movie's aged wonderfully. It hits the heartstrings. It's incredible. It's a movie I look forward to showing my kids one day. It's going to be great. And you know, the really crazy thing about this is the very first movie that Stephen King actually credited as the first book to film adaptation of his that actually worked. So Stand By Me, number 4. Number 3 on the best R-rated movies with kids, Kick-Ass. I loved this movie so much when it came out. It hasn't necessarily aged incredibly well due to kind of recent events and how these movies that are just flat out violent and kind of realistic violence, it's just a little uncomfortable now, but I'm not going to make this a soapbox. It's still very good on what it is. And this movie still stands on its own in its own aspects at what it's doing. Stylistically, this is one of Matthew Vaughn's very first films, and he was at the top of his game here. And the cast is outstanding with Chloe Grace Moretz, Aaron Tyler Johnson, and Nicolas Cage, of course. Nicolas Cage. So good. This movie is fun. It's ridiculous. It's way better than the sequel. Sorry, Jim Carrey, it was not good. And really, this movie is like the power anthem for young girls kicking ass. She's a badass in this movie. Really the best place. Hit girl, you're awesome. You yourself earned number 3 on this list. Next up, we're going to be talking about this movie a lot next month. The It 2017 version. I love this movie. It was such an incredible improvement on the miniseries and just a masterclass of storytelling and acting by its young children stars. My favorite thing about this movie is it's not just about clowns. People think It, clown, scary red balloon, murderous clown. It's so much more. It's about fear and horror and manipulating people's fears and overcoming them and childhood innocence and coming of age and underdog story. It's really, really good, but it's also super scary. I love it. It's so great. And the whole backdrop of the town of Derry, it creates a horror universe that feels original and unique and so limitless. And I cannot wait for the sequel. I think it's going to be wonderful. I certainly hope. All right, that was number 2. Number 1, South Park, bigger, longer, and uncut. What is R-rated kids without talking about South Park? You can't do it. Trey Parker and Matt Stone are geniuses, and they flexed those genius muscles here on this movie. It's so good. Thanks to this movie, we got one of the greatest Oscar moments of all time. Robin Williams singing Blame Canada. It's just too good to explain. You should YouTube it today. You'll just feel happier and better about life. This movie, although it's not as good as Team America, is hilarious. The music is hilarious. The storyline's ridiculous. Everything about it is so silly, but yet poignant and saying something just like their work. I got into trouble with this movie. When I was 12 years old, I saw this with my uncle. And when we were leaving the theater, I distinctly remember asking him, okay, earmuffs, parental advisory, what a clitoris was. And he didn't give me the answer, and I had to wait a few more years after that to figure it out. So thank you, South Park. This might be what you get if you took an 11, 12-year-old to a movie, but it's still so good. And I love it. I wish they made more movies. Maybe they will. You never know. They still have so much more potential with their lives and what they can do in their careers. So, number 1. Best R-rated movies. I have a feeling if I did this movie again, Good Boys might make this list because I'm hearing good things. All right, I'm Nathan. This is the Flix List. We'll see you next week.